Hello everyone, and welcome to the reading of Digimon Liberator Debug.4-2 Part 2. Similar to the last reading, I'm not a professional voice actor, and I'm just one person doing their best, so if the voices change episode to episode, I'm just doing the best that I can. I've also still got a little bit of a cold that I've had for the previous recordings, so the varying levels of cold will be maybe apparent in the different voices that I've done throughout Chapter 3 and Chapter 4. I recommend still heading over to the official release over on DigimonCard.com if listening to this recording is your primary way of consuming the Liberator web novel, partially so Bandai still gets the site visits, but also because each chapter, like Digimon Seekers, has art and actual visuals of each card that's being mentioned. While the mechanics of the cards are included in the reading, if you want to see the card itself, head over to the official novel release on DigimonCard.com. And with that out of the way, let's continue on to Digimon Liberator Debug, Chapter 4, Part 2. Debug, Chapter 4, Part 2. Tea? Asked a puzzled Reina. Make of that what you will, said Suzune. What I mean is, if I win, I want a few moments of your time. If that's all, there's no problem, said Reina, holding out her D-storage with a self-confident grin. Because I'm gonna win. Sorry about that. I like a kid who's got some spirit, said Suzune. Let's enjoy this. Hey, like I said, you're not gonna enjoy anything because I'm gonna win. They confirmed the settings for a friendly battle and activated the memory gauge. There was palpable tension in the air, but only for a brief moment. A moment later, the voice of Frigimon, who didn't care much for all the drama, rang out from inside Suzune's D-storage. Oh yeah, Suzune. What's the matter, Frigimon? Said Suzune. You're kind of ruining the moment. I've just had a word with our new guest. By guest, you mean the Bluecomon we just secured? Yeah, that's right. It wants to try fighting alongside you. Oh my, okay. A look of slight surprise appeared on Suzune's face. Her mission was to secure and protect the Bluecomon, but, from its point of view, it must have seemed more like suddenly being tied up or kidnapped. If it wanted to fight alongside her, that could only mean one thing. You mean to say, it's testing me? Asked Suzune. Maybe, said Frigimon. But that's hardly going to get your nerves up, is it? Of course not. That's absolutely fine, declared Suzune. Oh good, said a relieved Frigimon. I thought you'd say that, so I went ahead and added Bluecomon to your deck. Your deck list has changed a bit. Hope you're okay with that. At least you told me in advance, I guess, said Suzune, as she laid out her security stack, all the while trying to rapidly recall the details of Bluecomon's card. Digimon Liberator Side Story. Debug, Chapter 4, Part 2. Goddess from the Ice Age. Hold up, called Reina. That's not fair. Huh? Have I done something wrong? Questioned Suzune. Suzune tilted her head in surprise as Reina waved her arms around as if she'd been wronged. Don't play dumb with me. That's the Digimon that we were about to capture, isn't it? Shouted Reina, pointing a finger at Suzune's breeding area. There stood a dragonkin Digimon, cloaked in a haze of freezing breath and banging together its icy talons. A crisp Pailgemon. You're right. It's a Digivolution of Bluecomon, Suzune replied. I'm the one who secured it, though. But we haven't decided who it belongs to yet. That's what's unfair, cried Reina. I see it's not only my security sack you're trying to attack, it's my emotions as well. You're an ice deck user, and you clearly have a heart of ice too. Nothing of the sort, replied Suzune. As far as she was concerned, the wild Digimon didn't belong to either of them. But, since Reina didn't know the details of the situation, explaining that would make things more complicated. Besides, her attention needed to be elsewhere. The crisp Pailgemon in her breeding area had been throwing impatient glances towards her for a while now, as if it wanted to get into the action as soon as possible. Patience, requested Suzune, in a tone that was gentle, yet somehow stern. It's only the beginning of the battle, the calm before the storm. The perfect moment for you to join the fight will come in time. Suzune's firmness seemed to have partly convinced the crisp Pailgemon. It turned to face their opponent with more conviction. Suzune's analysis was accurate. Reina similarly had no intention of revealing her trump card this early on. They each had 4 cards in their security stack. Apart from Crisp Pailgemon, there were no other Digimon on Suzune's playing field. Reina also only had a single Digimon on her side. On her previous turn, she'd played the King of Undead Digimon himself, Myotismon. Reina had played a level 5 Digimon, pushing the memory gauge way over to Suzune's side. Was she planning something big for her next turn as well? If that was the case, Suzune would need to adapt. At the start of her turn, she turned to address her partner. "If this is the calm before the storm, then we should send out the first storm clouds," said Suzune. "Frigimon." The next moment, a freezing, skin-piercing gust of wind blew forth. A humanoid shape made of snow formed in the middle of the battle area. "No, Polar Bearmon." As she said this, the humanoid shape, which initially looked like an ordinary snowman, started to attract glowing light particles. A strong flash reflected off the snow, and in place of the snowman stood a Digimon wearing colourful ski wear and shouldering a bazooka. "Leave it to me," said Polar Bearmon, as a barrage of ice balls fired from its back. They bombarded Reina's play area, turning the area around Myotismon into a pincushion of sharp icicles. On play, when digivolving, trash any 2 Digivolution cards from your opponent's Digimon. Then, one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can't suspend or activate when digivolving effects until the end of turn. Since your Myotismon doesn't have any Digivolution cards, it won't be able to suspend next turn nor activate any when digivolving effects. Suzune gave her opponent a defiant look, as if to ask, "So, what will you do next?" Reina matched her gaze and stared right back, laughing fearlessly. "It's no use, lady. If you think you've won, you're more of a rookie than I thought." Then, a brief tune, completely out of place in the battlefield, rang out. It was both lively and creepy, a clown-like melody. An instant later, Polar Bearmon's body was torn apart by a flurry of countless blades. "Polar Bearmon!" Suzune cried out in surprise, and heard the echoing clonk of heavy footsteps. They came from the wizard that had just carried out this high-speed crime, as it entered the battlefield carrying 4 swords. "Piedmon, and an ace card at that. Since your Digimon had 7000 DP, I unleashed its trump sword effect with all 4 blades to completely destroy it. What's more, Piedmon also has an effect that lets me bring the Meramon you defeated earlier back into play. On play / when digivolving. Activate the effect below 4 times. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2000 DP for the turn. All turns / once per turn, when other Digimon are deleted, you may play 1 level 4 or lower NSO trait Digimon card from your trash without paying the cost. And I'm still not done. Your deck effects basically rely on me having less than 2 Digivolution cards, don't they? In that case, I activate Myotismon's effect. Your turn / once per turn, when your Digimon are played or digivolve, if any of them have the NSO trait, 2 of your Digimon may DNA digivolve into a Digimon card with the NSO trait in the hand. Then, that DNA digivolved Digimon may attack. As Reina said this, Myotismon quietly vanished, leaving behind only its mask and a cloak. Then, a cloud of a deep, abyssal darkness engulfed Piedmon. "DNA Digivolution! Out comes Baltamon!" Responding to her words, the malevolent fists appeared in the battle area. The 2 Digimon had undergone a DNA Digivolution to create a new Digimon. It was released from the restrictions of Polar Bearmon's effect and was able to activate its when digivolving effect. "DNA Digivolution! Out comes Baltamon!" And yes, reader's note, this part is actually being repeated. Responding to her words, the malevolent fist appeared in the battle area. The 2 Digimon had undergone a DNA Digivolution to create a new Digimon. It was released from the restrictions of Polar Bearmon's effect and was able to activate its when digivolving effect. When digivolving. D-Digivolve 3. One of your opponent's Digimon, and, for the turn, all of their Digimon get minus 6000 DP. Then, if DNA Digivolving, you may play 10 play costs total worth of NSO trait Digimon cards from your trash without paying the cost. When this effect's activation, something stepped out of the dark abyss, a dead man walking. The flame sorcerer Skull Meramon. Since it was DNA digivolved by Myotismon's effect, Bolt Baltimon can attack straight away. Also, it can activate a when attacking effect inherited from Myotismon. With it, I delete Meramon again and unsuspend Bolt Baltimon. When attacking, / once per turn, by deleting one of your other Digimon, this Digimon suspends. And now, since my Meramon was deleted, that activates Bolt Baltimon's effect, so please trash one of your security cards. All turns / once per turn. When other Digimon are deleted, trash your opponent's top security card. Bolt Baltimon also aimed an attack at Suzune, so 2 layers of her security went up in flames. Security check. Nothing happens. Take that. I cut right through 2 of your security cards just like they were butter. Well, if you peer into the abyss, that's what you should expect. Reina flashed a devilish, toothy grin. And we don't have time to be the abyss that peers back into you, so why don't you just hurry up and give up, please? However, as expected, Reina was met by a cool and unruffled reaction from Suzune, and her victorious grin quickly faded. What? Why do you look so unconcerned? Now it was Suzune's turn. She was up against Bolt Baltimon and Skull Meramon, but despite the state of her battle area and the difference in their security stacks, Suzune seemed to be enjoying herself. Let me tell you one thing, Reina, said Suzune. If you find yourself thinking your opponent is making careless moves, that's the time to be extra careful. What? You took advantage of my move and interrupted it well, and you made a very powerful counterattack. You unleashed Bolt Baltimon. Reina's eyes widened when Suzune flashed her the tiniest smile, before turning her eyes to her own troops. It's time. Lend me your power. Upon hearing those words, the Dragonkin Chris Paldramon nodded and leapt out of the beating area. As it did so, its form was immediately engulfed by a blizzard, before it re-emerged as an ice-clad magic knight. Digivolution, Hex Blamon. When digivolving, trash any 4 Digivolution cards under your opponent's Digimon. With one thrust of its ice lance, it sent out Bolt Baltimon's Digivolution cards to the trash. It was Piedmon, and, crucially, written on it were the letters Ace. Oh no, an overflow! Right as Reina cried out, the memory gauge turned a fierce red and let out a crackling sound. The memory gauge moved 4 spaces back towards Suzune. Right then, I'm going to do a few more things. Polar Bearmon! Polar Bearmon appeared once again from her hand and swept across the battle area. I prevent your Skull Meramon from suspending and activating when digivolving effects. Eep, lady, you don't hold back, do ya? Doing so, after that aggressive play of yours, would only lead to a swift loss for me. Wouldn't you agree? Reina's Nightmare Soldier deck relied on single powerful trump cards surrounded by other Digimon without Digivolution cards. Suzune's deck was a good match for it, since her disruptive effects depended on the opponents having few Digivolution cards. But still, if she chose the wrong time to attack, she'd swiftly be overwhelmed by her opponent's numbers. That's why Suzune let Reina cut down Polar Bearmon, let her think that she was controlling the pace of the battle. Then, if she digivolved Piedmon Ace into Bolt Baltimon, she could use her Hex Blaumon to cause an overflow. That had been Suzune's plan. You pretended to be surprised, but in actual fact you predicted everything, including the fact I'd use an Ace card? Was I convincing? Suzune touched her hand to the corner of her mouth and giggled. Surely now Reina understood her strength. Sweat dripped down the girl's temple. You're one scary lady, but the match isn't over yet. Devi! It was Reina's turn. The girl used the small amount of memory available to her to play Demi-Devimon. Any way you look at it, things aren't looking good for you, Reina, said the Digimon. You know, people usually say things like it's not over yet when they're about to lose. All right, that's enough out of you. Now fetch me a card that can turn this around. On play, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 card with the NSO trait and 1 card with the Fallen Angel trait among them to the hand. Return the rest to the bottom of the deck. This one's no good, and this one... there it is, Piedmon Ace. Reina took the 3rd card that she drew, Piedmon Ace, added to hand, and struck a confident pose. Bad luck, lady. Piedmon Ace can blast Digivolve. Next turn, I'm going to tear all your Digimon to shreds again. No, I'm afraid it's too late for that. Huh? It was time for the next turn. Suzune's battle area was a snowscape of pure white, and something new was appearing in it. A beautiful blue marionette stood on the battlefield. and on top of it was a small white Digimon. At first glance, it looked like a Yukimi Bottomon, but it had an elegant gaze. There was something unmistakably divine about it. It's time to freeze everything to its claw. Polar Bearmon, digivolve to Skardimon. When I'm in my ultimate form, I feel so rejuvenated. Can I go ahead and do it, Suzune? Yes, go ahead. You say that every time, though. When digivolving, you may play one level 4 or lower Ice Snow trait Digimon card from your hand without paying the cost. For each of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards, add 1 to this effect's level maximum. Reina, as you have 2 Digimon without any Digivolution cards in play, I play level 4 Frigimon, and if my opponent doesn't have any Digimon with Digivolution card, it gains me 1 memory. Leave it to me. I'm great at scrimping and saving, said Frigimon. What? But that means that's still your turn, cried Reina. That's right, so you know what comes next. In response to Suzune's words, Skardimon turned to face her opponent and attacked. When digivolving, /when attacking, /once per turn. By placing 1 Digimon with no Digivolution cards as the bottom security card, this Digimon unsuspends. I send your Skullmeramon to your security stack, and I unsuspend Skardimon. Ah. Reina let slip a small gasp. With her Skullmeramon gone, blast digivolving would no longer be possible. Skardimon had laid out a clear path to victory. If she could attack with Hexblaumon, then a second attack by the Icy Goddess would strike Reina. So, what do you think of my strategy? Is it to your liking? Hexblaumon looked back at Suzune and gave her a nod with a hint of satisfaction, to which she smiled radiantly. In that case, let's settle this. Skardimon, Hexblaumon, yes! The goddess and the knight charged across the battlefield like a roaring blizzard. Take all you want of your abyss. Let us show you that the ice at our command is far colder and more beautiful than any darkness. There, that's everything I know, miss. Thank you, Reina. Suzune had won the battle, but the information she received from Reina was not welcome news. One day, she had received a message about a special quest with a very handsome reward attached. She had some small doubts, but believed it because it looked like a genuine message from the admin team. The quest contents described stray Digimon wandering around Lacuna that needed to be captured, as if it was just some kind of story event. I'm sorry, I don't think this will help you much, miss. In response to the panic in Reina's voice, Suzune allowed her serious expression to soften into a warm smile. No, Reina, that's not the case. In fact, your honesty has been very helpful. If I can help you, miss, I'll do anything. Hey, what's with calling me miss all of a sudden? Oh, does that offend you? No, but that's right. I still haven't told you my name, have I? Here, think of this as my business card, said Suzune as she handed Reina her tamer card. My name is Suzune Kazuki. A pleasure to meet you. Kazuki? Where have I heard that name before? Perhaps you heard it on one of the Digimon Liberator official live broadcasts. They work quite closely with my husband. What? Did she know that Kazuki was the surname of a key member of the Digimon Liberator admin team? Reina continued to shout. No way, you're one of the admins? Me? Oh, not as such. I just help them out here and there. But the Digimon he captured today, wasn't that a job requested by the admin? Reina. Suzune put a finger to her lips as if to say, this stays between us. When Reina gave her a timid nod, she returned it with a smile. Then that's that. Thank you, Reina. I'm sure I'll see you around in Lacuna or elsewhere in Digimon Liberator. Reina watched intently as Suzune climbed onto Frigimon's shoulder and the two of them departed, gliding off smoothly into the distance. Yes, Miss Kazuki, Miss Suzune. Using normal plays to hunt down stray Digimon, so that's what they're up to. That's right. I'd be really grateful if you could keep an eye out as well, Yuki. They were in Jewel, the capital. Suzune was telling her teammate Yuki the whole story from start to finish. Looks like today it was going to be one overly energetic girl onto another for Suzune. You've got to report this to GM, right? Yes. Is Cool Boy around? Yeah. Saw him just now. He's over there, chatting with Unchained. Unchained. She looked in the direction that Yuki was pointing. There stood an immaculate-looking man with white hair. Cool Boy, talking about something with a blonde girl wearing a straitjacket, although it might have also been a boy. That was Unchained. Cool Boy had a very stern look on his face, so it was clear they were having a guarded and serious discussion. "Shall we call him over?" "No, leave them be. They look like they're in the middle of something," said Suzune. She paused for a moment. "Yuki." "Yeah?" "Keep that story I just told you to yourself for now. Don't tell anyone else, especially Unchained." "Huh? Sure, but I've got to go. Teacher was calling me." Suzune thanked Yuki, and then they said their goodbyes. She watched the smiling girl as she departed with a hint of consternation on her face. Frigimon spoke to her from her D storage. "Suzune, that was... Yes, it was a bit. I can't say I approve of you confiding in an innocent girl like Yuki. There was no other option. I hope it's nothing more than a baseless worries on my part." She thought back to her conversation with Reina and the quest notification. Disguised as an official message from a high-level admin, had the culprit found an exploit in the system? Or was there a far simpler explanation for what had happened? "You mean there might be a traitor in our ranks, don't you? You disapprove of my thinking? Quite the opposite. You're great, Suzune." Frigimon clumsily patted Suzune on the head with its ball-like hand. Her eyes widened in surprise and she laughed. "Thank you, Frigimon. What would I do without you?" "Don't worry. You've got me on your side, Suzune. Don't try to take on too much by yourself, okay?" "I'll be okay. For now, at least," Suzune muttered under her breath, as she felt the cool touch of her partner's warm gesture. To be continued. And that is it for Debug Chapter 4 Part 2, and also this round of novel parts. So these ones came out in August, so another 3 months away. That will put us in, what are even months? November, I think? I don't know. 8 plus 3 does equal 11, so that 11th being the November would track. So that there was some quick maths from me to you right there. So I guess the next bunch will happen in like early, mid-November. I think that's what I just said. Yeah, that would make sense. Assuming they're every 3 months and we get like 4 segments per 3 months. So I guess I'll see you again in 3 months. So you can contact me and stay updated. You can leave me a comment on this episode on YouTube, join the conversation. If you're also listening/watching this on YouTube, do the like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, etc., etc. For a full list of ways to find the podcast across the internet, such as YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter, head over to my link tree, which is linktr.ee/LostinTranslationmon. If you enjoy the podcast or videos or even my silly little posts online, you can show your support by signing up on Patreon and get some cool rewards and help me hit some milestones. And thank you to my current supporters on Patreon, Stephen Rees, who is 164 on Archive Our Own, Kadawashi, Chisai, who can follow on Twitter at Chisai236, Neobu, who says you should follow Chisai on Twitter at Chisai236, Lismet, who is Lekman on Tumblr, Nicholas, Emery from Gone All Hunting, a Hunt Hunt Watch podcast, Magnus, Lucas, Jason105, Patrick, Jason, Shelby, Digital Hazard, who's on Twitch at The Digital Hazard, Tropimon, Vmon Tamer, Kasai, Big Bad Beetleborg, Bent Archer, and Cappy. You can also make a one-time donation on PayPal, which can be found linked in the description. It's paypal.me/Erdramon, and you can also donate to me on my Ko-fi account, ko-fi.com/Erdra. And again, thank you so much for listening. I probably will continue doing these readings. I am enjoying them. They're not getting super high views or anything on either podcast platforms or YouTube, but I am enjoying it. But if you are enjoying this, please let me know in the comments and share the posts about it on social media. Tell your friends, especially if they're not particularly interested in reading a web novel, but maybe they have time on their commute or what have you to listen to it. Tell them to give it a listen, especially if they're into the Digimon card game. This is actually getting me into the card game itself. But yes, please spread the word. That will really help out because, again, the views aren't too high, but I'll probably still continue anyway because I am just enjoying doing the reading. In any case, I like doing the silly voices even if they're not particularly fascinating to listen to, I'm sure. But in any case, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!